Hi, boys and girls. We're going to continue on with our fractions. We're going to do practice 9-2, writing fractions in simplest form. So simplest form is something that you've heard me talk about a lot this year. It's important that we know how to write fractions in simplest form. Simplest form can help us, especially when we're trying to understand what a fraction actually means, or we're trying to imagine a fraction. Let's look at the first example here, 5/10. Now let's imagine I'm eating a pizza and I say, oh man, I've eaten 5/10 of this pizza. Nobody has any idea what that looks like. It's hard to imagine how big the pieces are, how many 5 of them is. Now let's think about if I put this in simplest form. 5/10 in simplest form is equal to 1/2 because both 5 and 10 are divisible by 5. So if I said to you, man, I've eaten a half of this pizza, that's really easy for you to imagine. Just take a circle, cut it in half, and that's how much I ate. Okay, so that's why it's important for us to understand simplest form. And that's also why a lot of tests or quizzes would ask you to make sure your answers are always in simplest form. So let's practice how we might do this. Okay, let's work the first few together. Number 1, 5/10. So I just did this in my head because I know my math facts and I can quickly say 5 divided by 5 and 10 divided by 5. If we were going to write it out, we could write it like this. And we get 1/2. Okay, excellent. So 1/2 is equivalent to 5/10. It's also simplest form. Okay, let's try number 2. Number 2, when you look at it, can you think of the number or the factor that you might divide by? Both 6 and 24 are divisible by 6. They're also divisible by some other common factors, but 6 is the largest common factor, also known as the greatest common factor. Okay, if you're not sure what that looks like, you can always write out the factors that you could multiply together that equal these two numbers. Okay, so 6, well, we know that 1 times 6 is 6. And we also know that 2 times 3 is 6. So these are the factors of 6. These are numbers that you can multiply together that would equal 6. Okay, 24 has a lot more. Wow, it does have a lot. Let's see. 1 times 24, 2 times 12, 3 times 8, and 4 times 6. Wow, 24 has a lot of factors. Okay, so each of these numbers that I wrote down can be multiplied together to get to 24. What we need to find is the factor that they have in common that's also the biggest. So yes, they have 1, they have 2 in common, they have 3 in common. The largest factor that they have in common, though, is 6. And that's the number I want to use in order to find the simplest form. If I accidentally chose the wrong one, that would be okay. I would just have a number that wasn't yet in simplest form. I'd then have to divide it again. So let's go ahead and use 6 so that I don't have to do extra work. 6 divided by 6 is 1. 24 divided by 6 is 4. So 1/4 is the simplest form. That's your answer. Now take a second and look at number 3. 9/27. I bet you know automatically from your math facts what number you're going to divide the numerator and the denominator by. That's right, it's 9, because both 9 and 27 can be divided by 9. 9 divided by 9 is 1. 27 divided by 9 is 3. Excellent. Now let's think back to why we want to use simplest form. Imagine I said to you, I have a candy bar and I'm eating 9/27 of that candy bar. There is no way to imagine what that might look like. But if I say 1/3, that is really easy for me to imagine. Just color in 1/3 right here. I ate 1/3 of the candy bar. Okay, great. Let's go on. You can practice the rest of these by yourself, numbers 4 through 9. And let's do number 10 together. Or let's talk about it at least. Explain how you can tell that 4/5 is in its simplest form. Well, let's go back to these factors, how we wrote the factors here. There have to be factors in common in order for you to simplify that fraction. 4 and 5 don't have any factors in common other than 1, and 1 won't make a difference because dividing something by 1 gives you that same number again. Okay, so they don't have any common factors. That's how you know that it's simplest form. Okay, now I've already worked these problems, but let's go through and practice it together. Okay, so we're taking a math test. Yay! And the math test has a certain number of questions. It's got 20, 30, 35 questions. And question number 11 on this worksheet wants you to tell me what fraction of the problems on the math test will be word problems. So total, I have 35 questions. And the number that are word problems, I have 5. Okay. So how did I know which number to write in the denominator and which number to write in the numerator? Well, the denominator is the total pieces that make a whole. If I had 35 35ths, that would be the whole test, right? So the denominator tells what is the total number of pieces that make up the whole thing. Now the numerator tells me how many pieces do I have. So specifically here, how many pieces do I have that are word problems? So 5 35ths. Now let's use our quick math facts. And I look at these two and I know immediately they're both divisible by 5. 5 is a prime number, so its only factors are 1 and 5. So if this number is not also divisible by 5, then it would not be able to be simplified. However, they're both able to be divided by 5. And when we divide that out, we get 1/7. So 1/7 of our test is going to be word problems. Okay, let's try number 12. Number 12 wants to know, don't look, what fraction of the problems on the math test will be multiple choice? So I have 20 multiple choice problems out of the 35. Again, I know that both of these numbers are divisible by 5, so that's what I'm going to go ahead and do. Okay, so 20 divided by 5 is 4. How do I know that? How do I know that 20 divided by 5 is 4? Well, because multiplication and division are related. So if 4 times 5 was 20, if I took 4 groups of 5 and that gave me 20, then if I was breaking 20 down into groups of 5, then I would have 4 groups. Okay, these numbers are related. It's important to understand that. 35 divided by 5 is 7. So the answer is that 4/7 of our math test would be multiple choice problems. Okay, great. Please try number 13 on your own. You want to find what is the simplest form of 10/82. So you could list out your factors the same way that we did here. You could list out factors for 10 and factors for 82 and see what is the greatest factor, the largest factor that they have in common. Then you could divide both the top and the bottom by that number. And number 14, explain how you can find the simplest form of 101,000ths. Wow, that's a pretty intense question. I want you to think back to powers of 10. And I want you to think about what number could you divide both of these by to find the simplest form. Okay? All right. Well done, boys and girls. You did a great job.